Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I know firsthand how different it is creating a forever home rather than a house you plan to flip in a few years' time. I believe your forever home should reflect what you love and suit your lifestyle rather than being about trends and resale value. You're creating a home for you and your family, not anyone else. So I'm here to help and guide you along the way. I'm going to share all there is to know about creating a quality forever home that's functional, sustainable, future-proof and adaptable to your family's changing needs so it's multi-generational. We don't do cheap and nasty here. We're about creating things to last. It is your forever home after all. I want to help you gain the knowledge you need to be planned and prepared to create the forever home of your dreams. I can't wait to share the journey with you. So let's start. Hello and welcome to this very special 150th episode of the My Forever Home podcast. I have to just sit here and actually take a step back and really just be blown away by the fact that I've got to 150 episodes. It's not often that I actually sit back and reflect. I'm very bad at that actually, but I thought I do need to take a moment and reflect on the fact that I got to 150 episodes. Like, how did that happen? So I thought I'd just run you through this episode. Look, for those new listeners, I know there's people that have just started picking up the podcast very recently. The podcast started in April 2020, so thick in the swing of COVID, and I have to say it's certainly come a long way. I've covered a lot of ground. So I was actually just looking back at what our most popular episodes are, and I'm just going to go run through and give you a bit of an overview of perhaps where some of the earlier episodes that you can go back to and what our most popular ones are, some of the guests we've had on. So I'm just going to sort of give you an overview and a little bit of a story about the podcast as well. So why don't I just start with that, hey? So this is being recorded in September 24. So 4.5 years in that this podcast has been going. And I sort of toyed around with, doing it weekly and fortnightly, and now it's sort of coming out every 3 weeks or so. It's all, I need to have things that I feel are valuable for you to be able to talk about that on the podcast or have the right guest or whatever. So it's sort of evolved. But we are now at 89,000 downloads. So I'm very, very proud of that. And I know that also that just getting to 150 episodes is a really big thing too. And sometimes when I mention that to others, I've got a podcast, because look, how many podcasts are out there at the moment? And I am really proud to say that My Forever Home podcast is actually in the top 10 of Australia's best renovation podcasts. And even though it's not designed just for renovations, it really is designed for anyone creating a forever home, and that could be a reno, it could be a new build, so it's not necessarily just about renovations. When I sort of talk to people, it's almost like a 50-50 split. So, but to be in the top 10 of the best episodes in Australia for people to get resources is also just incredible. It's not what I thought was going to happen. But so many podcasts start, and there needs to be a really big commitment when you start a podcast that you can sort of do 3, 4, 5 episodes. And look, how many podcasts have we sort of tapped into? And then it starts with such a big energy and a big impetus. Yes, this is going to be this and it's going to be that. And then it sort of drops off. So I was very conscious of creating a podcast, committing to it, and really making sure that it wasn't going to be one of those things that just fell by the wayside. And one of the most enjoyable things for me, not only is the incredible guests that come on the podcast, and I'm going to go through a few of those in a moment, but people that actually ring me, they'll book a chat with me, or they'll just ring me, and they'll say, "Oh, I know your voice already," which is a little bit embarrassing for me because I think, oh my god, I don't particularly like my own voice, but it's so nice that people have really connected with the podcast, what I might be talking about, or just the way I am on the podcast. Because I always sort of say that the podcast is pretty raw and real. It's not particularly polished, I don't think. I have an amazing team in the background that do so much work with getting it to you after I've recorded it. But it's just really endearing, I think, when people say, look, I love your podcast. I love getting that feedback. That's something I learned so much. Thank you for sharing whatever. Or sometimes someone will even contact me and say, oh, I'm a bit stuck on this. Would you mind doing an episode on it? And I actually have done that many, many times when I've requested. And I know I do call outs. You can message me anytime and let me know a topic that you'd like me to cover on the podcast. But it is lovely that I can, do that when people do ask. And I do make an effort to try and respond to the requests that people have. If I think that it's, going to be beneficial for others, if it's a very specific thing that's only relevant for one or two people, well then, it's not going to be something that is a medium for the podcast. But it is really nice when people say they've heard me on the podcast. And I do get lots of people contacting me about that too. So I think that keeps me going as well, to know that it's adding so much value. So that's, that may be why I've got 250 episodes. It's the fact that I know that from the feedback I'm getting that people are actually, finding a lot of value, and it's really helping them with their forever home, which is, the reason it's there, and that, floats my boat. You can hear I've got a big smile on my face when I'm saying that. So it's been an amazing journey. That it's all about creating forever homes. And I suppose this is a term that I coined, and you've probably heard me talk about it in some of my episodes about what's a forever home. They're the really early on ones. But because I specialise and am so passionate about forever homes, that's all it's about. All the decisions you need to make, and anything to do with a forever home is relevant then for the podcast. So, what really, I thought I'd, tell you a little bit about the backstory about how it started. I actually, this is where it really started. And I saw a photo of my house, which was built 10 and a half years ago. We moved in 10 and a half years ago. And it got photographed for a house and garden. And there was an image that Amelia Lee posted on her Facebook group. And it was an image of the billabong that we have with my kids, and which is a beautiful photo, by the way. And I love the billabong. I always call it a water feature that you can swim in. Anyway, she posted it, and because we built a energy efficient house, and this is a long time ago, by the way, this would have been in 2019, I think, that she posted the image, and I reached out to her and I said, oh, that's my house. And she said, oh, I'd love to hear the story about how you created this energy efficient home. I'd love to invite you on my podcast. So I didn't have a podcast then. And so Amelia Lee and I sat down and talked about my home. And then I said to her, you're an architect, really passionate about energy efficient homes, sustainability, environmental concerns with housing, getting it right, all of that sort of stuff. Why don't we get together and do something about interior design? I can, maybe we'll create a season, because she has lots of seasons on her podcast. Why don't we do a season on interior design? So I proposed that to her, and she said yes. I thought, awesome. So she's got an amazing system about how she did that. And I think, look, my memory's not going to be amazing, but I'd say it was at least 10 to 15 episodes that we recorded together all about interior design. And I still get people calling me saying, I heard you on the Undercover Architect, the interior design stuff, and she had other guests come on as well. So, I did a big chunk of that season with her, and then she invited other people that were specialised in other areas as well to sort of add additional things to that season. So it really started from there. So what got me thinking was, okay, so I've done this with Amelia on Undercover Architect, and maybe I should create a podcast just for interiors. So she obviously specialises in lots of different other things. She looks at so many aspects of the build. And I thought, why don't I just create a podcast just about interiors and just for forever homes? So that was my niche. That's my calling. And I can just make it all about one specific thing. So very, very, very niched. And so that's what I did. So I just started with, what's a forever home and what's a sustainable home, and and then I just started talking about different topics that either clients would come to me or people would talk to me about, and I thought, I can talk about that on the podcast. And that's how it actually started. And then I thought, why don't I create some seasons that are very specialised? So I did the kitchen design season, which was hugely popular, and I have to say that it is still, all these years later, that was recorded in 2020, that is still one of the most popular. Many of the episodes within that kitchen design season are still our absolute most popular episodes in terms of the amount of downloads we've had. And so, look, it makes sense. Kitchens are such an important part of our home. They're complicated. There's so many things to think about when you're creating a kitchen, and so many things that can go wrong if it's not done right. So it makes sense to me. But so I did the kitchen design season, and that was lots and lots of episodes. And then I did the bathroom design season, and I sort of tagged on a couple of things about laundries and powder rooms on that season as well. So that was all about bathrooms. And I talked about materials, we talked about design, we talked about fittings, all sorts of different things. And then I had a sustainability season as well. So I should just back up here a little bit. The kitchen design season, in case you want to go back to that, is from episode 30. It's intermixed with some Forever Home Lives that I used to do as well, which I no longer do. However, from episode 30, you can go back to so that's how long ago it was, because I'm now at 150. 120 episodes ago, you can find the kitchen design season if you haven't listened to that already. The bathroom design season is from episode 69. And there's a good 10 episodes in there that covers just bathroom design. And then I decided to do a sustainability season. And that was, what kicked that one off too is just around the questions that I was being asked around materials that we're using and the sorts of things that I did with my home, we're doing with clients' homes. So I did a sustainability season as well. And that is from episode 111. And that covers lots of different things with regards to sustainability, energy efficient home. And I even interviewed my husband around the process that we used for our own home. And that was split across three different episodes where we talked about what we did for our home, how I managed it from lockup and so forth. So that's quite an interesting, that's an interesting one. So that's from episode 102 is the vision and finding an architect for our home, the interior, so myself designing and building the forever home with 103, and then 104 is how I managed the build, because I did, in my crazy state, while I was still running a business, decided to manage the build from lockup. So I'm not recommending that to anyone fast either. So they are some of the seasons that I've done. And then I did my own forever home journey on episode 7. And then those other episodes I just mentioned to you, 101 to 102, 103, 104. Oh, there's also lots of episodes on decorating, choosing colours, choosing materials. I did a more recent episode on the block and also other shows and how they impact the industry. in a good way and a bad way. And I've had some incredible guests on the show. I've had builders, getting the builder's perspective. I've had David Bagg from Green Tag, that was in the sustainability season. Green Tag being an accreditation for sustainable products. I had Richard Earp from Earp Brothers, a tiling business. I've had him on a couple of times. We talked about grout and tiling in the bathroom season, and we also talked about a very political episode actually on, how are we going to meet our obligations for the Paris Agreement. So I love talking to him about that. I am a bit of a political beast, I have to say. We don't have to talk politics though, it's okay. I had Lauren Lee on, who's a fellow interior designer. And like I said, I had my husband on. He's a passive house consultant. So I've learnt heaps from him. I learned heaps when we were actually building our own house. I feel I can walk the talk in terms of living in a home that's air sealed with a HRV and heavily insulated, but not passive house accredited. And our house is old. I mean, it's really old to meet those sorts of criteria, being 7.4 star energy rated. But the thing that's also really interesting for me is that in the top 10 downloads is the episode I had about the home design made easy online course, because I did an overview of the course because I did create that course a few years ago. There's actually 3 courses that I've created. One is the kitchen design made easy course, online course, the bathroom design made easy online course, and then I did the whole home. So this is more for DIYs, people that really want to do that themselves or learn more or understand more. So I did a whole overview of the home design made easy course in that episode, and lo and behold, it's in the top 10 listens. It sort of just blows me away that my overview of the course, which you can find on the White Pebble Interiors website, just as a side under courses. But yeah, that's really intriguing that people find that so interesting. And look, I mean, it's got so much content. It really is the absolute process that we go through with our clients is in that course. So it's definitely good if you wanted to do it yourself. So, wow, here we are. So what's in store for the future for the podcast? Well, it's not going anywhere fast, that's for sure. I find it so rewarding to have your feedback. I find it so rewarding that people find it really helpful. I find it really rewarding to have people call me and just say, oh, yes, okay, I've listened now and I can't do it myself. I need you to help me and I want you to help me. And I feel that when you are listening to a podcast and you listen to someone a lot, you sort of understand where they're coming from and what their style is, and not design style. I'm just talking about their own personal style, whether they're, a straight shooter or whatever it is, whether their personality style is yours, whether it resonates with you or not. And I just find that when you're able to absorb content from someone, you really get to know them. And so when these people ring me and we have a conversation, I suppose they really know me because they've listened to so many episodes, and it's just it's really lovely. So it's not going anywhere fast, and I've definitely committed to continuing at an absolute minimum to be providing you a new episode every 3 weeks. It was getting really challenging to do it weekly just because of everything else that goes on, serving clients and doing all the other things that I do and that we do in the studio. So I found that really challenging, which is why I had to make it less. But I also didn't want to produce an episode just for the sake of it. It's like, oh, I've got to get an episode out. What am I going to talk about? And I'll just make something up. So I wanted to make sure that if I was going to release an episode, that it was going to be something worthwhile and it was going to be something that was beneficial. And so that's why I thought, look, I'll just not do it every week. I can still add value. It may just not be weekly, but I think as long as the value's there, and there's 150 episodes you can go and listen to when you go into the catalogue, then there's still enough there to share and to give the value that I'd like to give. So it's another little overview, really. I didn't really add any value this particular episode, but I hope that for the newer listeners that you're able to go back and listen to some of the older episodes. You can basically just scroll down in the website on the page for the podcast and just find any episodes. And of course, you can do that wherever you listen to your episodes as well. I know when I'm listening to podcasts, and I know it's really time consuming to do that. I do it a lot in the car. I sort of just scroll back and just, find the title. But like I said earlier, if there is something that you'd like me to cover off for you, please do. And if there's something that you just think, oh, would you just stop on about that? Well, then tell me that too, because I've got pretty thick skin and I love feedback, because from feedback you can only get better. So I'm all about that too. So anyway, that was my little garble this week. I need to just say congratulations to myself, because I'm not very good at that. 150 episodes and 89,000 downloads, and in the top 10 of the best Australian Renault podcasts. And you know what? I just, on a side, I've actually had people ring me or contact me, email me from America that have been listening to the podcast. So how they find me, I don't know, because I can't imagine it would come up in the US. I don't know, but they find me. And I've had quite a few people contact me from the US, and I've had people from the US become clients because of the podcast. So that's really, really lovely too. Really, really lovely. And even though some of the things are different in the US, there's obviously still a lot of overlap with other things as well. They call things differently, like a tap is not a tap, it's a faucet, and downlights are not called downlights, they're called cans, and there's lots, and they're in imperial measurements, so that's very different. But there is still a lot of overlap. And, the thing I'm massively on, which is about functionality, functionality is, you're going to need that no matter what country you're in. You still need to have whatever space you're in work for you in the way that you need to make it work for you. So I'm going to go now before I just keep rambling and rambling. Thank you for being part of my journey and this podcast journey. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being there to support me. And a way that you can support me, if I can ask a favour of you now perhaps, is if you can just review the podcast, because I have discovered in my naivety that when you have reviews from other people, it helps other people find your podcast, and it also helps you get ranked in the searches when people are looking for a podcast. So if you could give me, the biggest gift that you could give me would be to write a review about the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, so that other people can find me and I can reach even more people and help even more people with their forever home journey. So if I could ask you that favour, I would be very, very grateful. But other than that, thank you for being on this journey with me, and enjoy listening, share the love, let your friends and family know about it as well. And if you need assistance as well with your home and you haven't got the time or the expertise, you can always engage us to help you with your home as well, your forever home. That's it from me this week. I'll see you in another couple of weeks. Have an awesome weekend. Bye for now. If you're ready to renovate or build your forever home, you're in the right place. Here are some ways to gain further inspiration or how we can work together. Book a chat with me so we can discuss your project in more detail and see how we may be able to assist you with one of our fixed price packages. You can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. If you're after some peace of mind that your floor plan is as good as it can be, for a small investment, a floor plan sanity check could be just what you need. I review your plans as that second set of professional eyes, ensuring it's functional, flexible, and future-proof for lasting peace of mind. This can save you thousands in structural changes down the track. You can find out more and book directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au. And if you'd like to get your hands on some reading material, unlock your dream home and dive into our first ever magazine, Creating Your Forever Home. It's packed with expert insights, stunning visuals, and practical advice on building your forever home. Grab your copy and be inspired now. You can also access the first 3 chapters of my book, Your Forever Home, a practical and helpful guide to gain insights on how to create a home that will suit your needs for the long term. Everything is available at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/links. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you loved it, please leave a review, share it on Facebook and Instagram for your friends, and be sure to sign up to our newsletter for more insights on creating the forever home of your dreams. If you're really ready to get started, you can book a chat with me via the website whitepebbleinteriors.com.au or check out our online courses designed to provide a clear framework for you at myforeverhome.com. If you've got a question, be sure to get in touch at podcast@myforeverhome.com. Have a great day.